all of our welcome guests here. First, good to have you. Second, I'm sorry for messing up your learning program. We're in the middle of a series here. I hope it'll do something for you. This is part of a leadership program where we're studying the traits of great Jewish leaders. We spent the first two sessions dealing with the trait of humility, anava. We chose that to begin with because the leader of the Jewish people was Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses. And the Torah very clearly defines him as the most humble human being on the face of the earth. We spoke about humility, meaning it's not about me. Commonly, there are these people that have leadership personalities or leadership ambitions. They want to be leaders, so they look for a cause. That's not the Torah's idea of what leadership is. Leadership is not about the person. It's not a person's ambitions, it's not about advancing the person's self. The entire people culture is alien to Torah. It's about the cause. The cause means so much to you, you'll do whatever you can to make it happen. Which brings us to today's character trait, the midah of achrayus, of taking responsibility, which very much is what Aish stands for in the first place. Taking responsibility. Back to Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe, he grew up in the palace. He was not part of the enslavement in Egypt. He was adopted by Pharaoh's daughter. He walks out and he sees an Egyptian beating a Jew. He kills him. Which, by the way, endangers his life. He risked his life for the sake of saving a Jew. That's responsibility. There's no leadership without responsibility. In fact, that's what leadership is all about. It's about responsibility. We live at a time where I guess the number one value seems to be comfort. Comfort, safety. Maybe we're all busy with our comfort zones. Responsibility is not a word people like hearing. You know, the world is a much easier place to live in. It used to be that people had to work very hard for everything. No, I'm not that old. I did grow up with running water. But my mom didn't. Everything was a hassle. Water came from the well. You had to make your own cheese. You did laundry by the river. This is ancient history. You know, we learn about that together with the cavemen. It used to be that you had to work hard. And people understood that part of life is working hard. And people learned to take responsibility for themselves. And the Torah taught them that it doesn't end there. You've got to take responsibility for others as well. And the Torah teaches us that every Jew is responsible for every other Jew. Physical well-being, emotional well-being, spiritual well-being. Of course, it begins with the fact that we're family. But there's another part to that. Part of being human is being responsible. We're put into this world to be responsible, to take responsibility first for ourselves and for everyone around us. Instinctively, animals care for their young. Humans have something greater than instinct. We have intuition, we have conscience, and that's because we've got a soul. And while instinctively we're self-centered, our intuition does not feel comfortable with only being self-involved. Taking responsibility for others is a basic trait of someone who lives past his instinct. Most basic proof is simply, when do you feel better? When you give or when you take? Yeah, first, I guess one's first reaction, of course, it's receiving. There's nothing like receiving. What are you talking about? You know, you feel so much better when you give. It's so deeply ingrained in our souls. But it's nice to volunteer things. It's even better to be responsible, to feel responsibility for others. That's a higher level. And that the Torah requires of every Jew. It is a necessary quality, a necessary trait for a leader. But in truth, every Jew is something of a leader. It's a requirement of everybody. Kol Yisrael, every Jew, Arevim Zelazeh, every Jew is responsible for every other one. In truth, our responsibilities are focused on the family, on Jews. But we're really responsible for mankind. That's the role of the Jews in the world. The Mishnah tells us, why was it that Adam was created as an individual? Why is it the Torah presents for us the creation of man as one human being? So the Mishnah gives several different answers. One of them is so that everyone should say the world was created for me. Right? The same way Adam was one man and the whole world was created for him. Let every individual feel the world was created for me. So what's it telling us? Ideally, the Mishnah views everyone as shooting to be a narcissist. Everything was created for me. You see, that's if you only look at this Mishnah talking about, I guess, the vanities. This Mishnah is talking about the state of the world. Every one of us has to feel that all the problems of mankind were made for me. I have responsibility, not I'm guilty. I have responsibility to care about, to feel for, and do what I can. It begins at home. Of course, oneself, one's family, and the bigger family, the Jewish people. It's well known out there in the world that this is one of the traits of the Jew. Rambam notes, there has never been a Jewish community without a charity fund. I believe this is true to this very day. It has nothing to do with being an observant Jew. This is the fiber. It's just part of the DNA of a Jew. We've always fought for social justice. Our solutions aren't always so correct. Jews are activists. I don't know if you've encountered it. I'm sure you will. So many non-Jews, they need a lawyer. They need a good medical referral. They've got a Jewish friend. They ask the Jew, because Jews know these things. Jews have connections. You don't know yourself. You know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows all the answers. Because we're not self-centered. We care. We care. I'll tell you something else. This may be old world, but I remember as a kid. Wasn't such a kid anymore. Okay, teenager. In '68, my family came to visit Israel. It was a year after the Six-Day War. Everybody was coming. LL was short of planes. They were buying planes from other airlines, I remember. They put a big X over whatever company's name on the plane. So we informed our next door neighbors, the Manucci's, that we're going to Israel for the summer. So Mr. Manucci, Giuseppe Manucci, fine, nice guy. Taking the car. You can't get there by car. Where is this place? Israel. No, the Holy Land. Going to Rome? Jews were never cut off from the rest of the world. It's always our business to know what's going on everywhere. Part of being Jewish. Because we feel a responsibility. We're not just curious. We're not just news freaks. Of course, we have an opinion on everything. But where that comes from is concern. We care. This is so much part of the fiber of the Jew. A feeling of responsibility for everything wrong in the world that has to be corrected. But above all, for the Jewish people, because we as a people are responsible for the world. And if the Jewish people will be activated, this world is going to be a different place. So here at Aish, there's a particular responsibility that we're focusing on. And that is Jewish ignorance. No secret. So much of the Jewish people is disappearing. Intermarriage in North America is above 70%, which means that more than 7 out of 10 marriages where one is Jewish, the other one is not. We don't know how many Jews there are in the world because so many Jews don't identify Jewish anymore. Come on, we've made it this far. We've outlived every other civilization. Here we are with the same Jews. Even though we're all over the world. For most of this time, we didn't have a state. And now that we do, we don't know how many. A lot of Jews don't live here. At least half, or almost half. We don't know. We don't know how many Jews there are, so it's hard to know. We've kept together. Yeah, October 7th did something, which also is so different than any other ethnic group. If terrorists would have done something to Italians in Italy, do you think all the Italians on earth would get together? They'd be mobilized? Start collections? People coming to volunteer? Think anyone, something happens to Jews, all Jews on earth are shaken. Everyone feels responsibility. That's what it means to be a Jew. But we do have to know, the Jewish people, we're losing so many to assimilation. And it's not as if Jews know what it means to be a Jew and have decided to opt out. They've rejected it. It's out of total ignorance. It used to be that when someone decided not to observe, he knew what he wasn't observing. That's not the case. They'll study everything there is but Judaism, the Torah. Jews are curious. Come on, with the information explosion. Jews have to know everything about everything, except for Judaism. Just doesn't make sense. So certainly, for Aish students, it's certainly not the first time you've heard this. This will not be the last time you're going to hear this. We have responsibility to reach every Jew. For all of you who are just visiting, I don't know if I'll have another opportunity. The issue is not just you becoming informed Jews. Study. Understand what it means to be a Jew. But don't stop there. Part of being Jewish is taking responsibility for the whole Jewish nation. You know something, teach it. You feel enlightened because you studied something, because you learned something new. Suggest to your friends, do the same. Jewish wisdom is what has kept us going. What has made us so special? It's our wisdom. You study everything but that. So care. Begin with yourselves. But care to reach every Jew, anyone you meet, anyone you know. You had a meaningful time here? Share your excitement. Share your excitement. This is the wisdom that created our legendary greats. And this is the wisdom that kept the Jewish nation in its place with all the anti-Semitism. They still know something about these Jews. In fact, one of the greatest proofs of our being special is anti-Semitism. What is it that they hate about us? What is it that they hate about us? Because we preach the conscience, morality, ethics, right and wrong, responsibility. Human greatness, growth. All the kinds of words that sound nice, but when you confront people with them, they don't want to hear about them. That's why they hate us. And instead, accuse us of trying to take over the world. Why are we successful? What's our secret? Jewish wisdom. We know how to live. Leadership means taking responsibility, bringing Jews back to Judaism and Judaism back to Jews. Really caring. I have an acquaintance who's called down for jury duty. So there's a screening process. They ask all sorts of questions. Some in a private interview, some in a public setting. And they throw out the question, are you involved in any public service? Do you volunteer in some organization? Every Jew had to live. We're not talking about, every Jew of different kinds of different affiliations. Everyone had a list of what he's involved in. Among the non-Jews, maybe one, if any. Jews know that being Jewish means be responsible, taking responsibility for others, caring and doing, not just lamenting, not just talking about it, but doing and taking responsibility. In truth, in this day and age especially, it seems that contemporary thinking is focused on everyone's rights. We're not so much into rights. The Torah way of looking at things is not rights. The Torah way of looking at it is responsibility. And there's a major difference between the two. Rights. Well, I guess you demonstrate or even riot for someone's right to squat on public property. I don't know. That's a matter of rights. What is the Torah's way of looking at it? You don't demonstrate or riot for someone's right to squat on public property. You have responsibility for his well-being, and if that means taking him into your home, you do that. There's a major difference between the two. One's detached. The other one is giving of yourself because you know you have a personal responsibility to him. That's the Torah way of doing things. That's the Jewish way of doing things. Not about rights, about responsibility. So this is so basic for every Jew, certainly for anyone that has any I don't like calling it ambition, any thought of assuming a leadership position. He's got to develop within himself a feeling of responsibility. The Torah at the very beginning presents the degeneration of society. Adam was created, Eve was created. They have children. They eat from the tree and become mortals. Two brothers can't get along, one kills the other. Society degenerates. There's the flood, the Tower of Babel. Then comes Abraham. in describing that very, very first step in destroying society, in taking Adam, who was immortal, he was to live forever, and giving him mortality. Yeah, so he eats from the tree of knowledge. And the Almighty appears to him. And what's the first thing he does? Passes the buck. Blames it on Eve. She gave it to me. It seems like the most basic human negative trait is blaming, is not living up to responsibility. It's so basic to human nature. It's so instinctive. It was there from the beginning. And it's the beginning of the end. There are those who blame, there are those who pass the buck, and there are those who know the buck stops here, who take responsibility for their actions and for everything that's needed. Can't dream of being a leader if you don't live with responsibility. Okay, I'm sure you got the message. Take responsibility. See how great it feels. See how energized. See how energized you are. It's convenient to pass the buck. It's energizing. Makes you feel so good when you take responsibility. Be responsible. Be a Jew. That's what it means. Be responsible. Yourselves, your family, the whole of Jewish people, and the whole of humanity. So that's what the Jewish people are all about.